Hey guys, and welcome to or back to the Paws in Pursuit podcast with your host Summer Clark. So I am finally back from my agility holiday, KCI and Dogs in Need. I got back, today? Tuesday. I got back on Sunday night I got back. So I've had one day back in routine. To be honest, it is quite nice to be back into a normal routine. It's taking a little bit to, really get back into it, because obviously I'm a very routine person. I get into routines very easily. I like to keep a routine. So obviously while camping for, 12 days in total, I think it was nearly 2 weeks, I kind of naturally adopted a whole new routine to my day, and then now I'm back in my normal routine, so I'm just getting back into it. But it is nice to be back. It's especially nice to be back at the gym. I really missed that. But today I thought I would just talk a little bit about KCI and Dogs in Need. So I'm going to do a debrief of that event at the end of this podcast episode. But before we get into that, today's topic is all about altering your approach to agility. So this is something that really came over me over the past couple of weeks, and I just changed some of the approaches, some of my approaches to handling, my approaches to how I am with arrow before a run, during a run, after a run, stuff like that, which will all make sense when I get into it. But I mainly just want to talk about how it's completely okay and often very beneficial to allow yourself to alter your approach to agility, not just physically and what you physically do with your dog and how you handle, but also how you think of it mentally. I have touched on a similar topic in previous episodes before, but this is more, altering, what you think to a run in your head, what you think to a course, what you think to failure, success, etc. And then also, changing around your approach to agility in the sense of start line routines, pre-run routines, stuff like that. So we'll dive straight into that. I will do my, weekly recap at the end of the episode, because it's actually going to be a 2 weekly recap, all about KCI and Dogs in Need. So we'll get onto the thick of that after I've talked about the actual topic. Now, I would just like to take a minute to introduce you guys to the podcast sponsor, Huel. So here I have one of the ready to drink Huel meals, the berry flavour. Huel ready to drink is a meal in a bottle with over 20 grams of protein. It really is the perfect meal for when you are on the go. You don't need to sacrifice convenience or nutrition. You can have both with ready to drink. Each serving has 26 vitamins and minerals. This means every bottle of ready to drink has 175 health benefits. It is made from natural ingredients such as coconut, sunflower seeds, tapioca, pea protein, flax seeds, and hemp seed protein. Every meal is vegan and it has no gluten, no palm oil, no GMO, no lactose, and no animal products whatsoever. It comes in 8 delicious flavours, including iced coffee caramel and strawberries and cream, as well as the classics like vanilla, chocolate, and banana. It is absolutely delicious and just tastes like a milkshake. It is widely sold in supermarkets, petrol stations, and corner shops around the UK, and it can be conveniently purchased online. I found out about Huel because I was looking for a product that would give me all the nutrients that I need while travelling to events and staying over at competitions and training events. So when it's time to refuel and have a meal, I can just drink a ready to drink Huel product and get all my nutrients quickly, easily, and without cooking. It's perfect when I don't have the time or the facilities to cook. For example, when I'm camping at a competition, I'm going to be drinking at least one a day at KCI and Dogs in Need. If you're super busy, just like me, then you really don't want to miss out. You can easily and conveniently shop ready to drink from Huel at the link uk.huel.com/paws. I hugely appreciate anyone and everyone that uses my link, as it helps keep this podcast running, and every sale through that link helps keep my podcast going. Buying through my link also gets you a free t-shirt, which will be auto applied at the checkout. If you subscribe to a Huel order, you can save 10%. You can choose how often your subscription comes, for example every 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, etc. And these are super easy to manage on the website, and you can edit whenever you like. uk.huel.com/paws. Let's get straight into it. So first is finding a new pre-run routine. So I have found a new pre-run routine with Arrow over the past 2 weeks, which is super interesting. Before I would kind of try really, I still have obviously warm him up, warm me up. That is a strict pre-run routine that I will always have, because it's super important to prevent injury and get us both in the zone physically and mentally for the run. But I used to like over focus on him. I think I would over fixate on him. So I would take him to the ring after warming him up, and then I would have a ball or treats constantly. So my first pre-run routine was having his ball, doing some tricks with for his ball, and then giving him his ball, you know, well done, yay, and then taking it off him, and then walking to the ring, and then getting treats out, and doing loads of tricks with treats and getting him to do middle down, middle down, middle down, because obviously that was what I was doing with his start line weight, to try and get him to wait, because as most of you will probably know, he was creeping for ages. And then by the time I got to the start line, I think he was really wired and hyped up because I'd just been doing constant tricks with him. So he's like, which he's already very fast and already very enthusiastic. And sometimes I think that might have sent him over the edge. So he just wasn't calm enough to really think about what I was saying. This is the routine I had at KCI, and he did knock quite a few poles, as you probably have heard on my social medias, but I'll get into that as well at the end. And he just felt a bit more crazy than he did towards the end of Dogs in Need when I changed my approach. So then I decided to change my pre-run routine to doing the warm-up bits with him for food. And I got new food. I'm giving him liver sausages at the moment. I did give him sprats for a while, which are the little dried fish, but they're quite messy, you know, and then he was choking on them a few times during the run because they're quite scratchy. So I bought some liver sausages and cut those up into little pieces and used those. So the new pre-run routine that I figured out for us at the end of Dogs in Need was to do that, do the warm up and cool down, a few tricks, you know, warm up exercises with those treats, and then just walk to the ring, get in the queue and do nothing. So I would, you know, when I get to the queue, I'd probably say, you know, tell him to watch me and sit and give him a little treat. And then I would just stand there and I would gather myself. I would watch other dogs run the course. I would rethink about my handling during the course, and I would just really get my own head together. And I would just let him sit by me calmly, obviously on his halty, because he does pull and he's a spaniel, he loves sniffing. When he's sniffing, he's not concentrating, so that also helps to keep his head off the floor. So just sat there on his halty, and then if he did try to go towards another dog to say hello or put his head to the floor, you know, I'd just be like, no, and then bring him back, say sit again, give him a treat. So we were both just stood there very calm until our run. When the dog before us went towards the start line, I get his ball out, I have my bag, so I have my bag, you'll probably see me, my ready to run bag from Lucy, walking around with that. I never don't have that at show now, and it's got my poo bags, phone, ball, what else has it got? And treats. So I take that to the other end of the ring, where I will exit the ring when I finish the run, and I put his ball down and I put the bag down, and I take a few treats with me back to the queue, and I'm now next in the queue. The first dog started to run. I will now do a few tricks with him for a treat and give him it. And a thing I really enjoy doing with him, and that I think gets him really concentrated, is hand touches. So just before the dog before me finishes, I'll do hand touches for a treat, give him that final treat, and then make my way to the start line. And then do some more hand touches, obviously no treats, but he's in that zone now, so he's doing these hand touches, and then I say wait and lead out. So that is my new pre-run routine, and it is very chill, focusing on just getting my head together and letting him sit calmly. And that worked a treat. Fingers crossed it carries on that way, touch wood, it worked perfectly. His last few days at Dogs in Need, when I adopted this new routine, were his best runs of the entire 2 weeks. So I really hope that has, you know, that has kind of unlocked a new potential in him, you know, and he didn't knock poles when I did that usually like he did at KCI, and he just seemed more focused, clear-headed, and he was just concentrating on and listening more, basically, concentrating on what I was saying. I don't know if that has a direct correlation, maybe he was just tireder because it was the end of the 2 weeks, but to me that really helped. And it also helped me in the sense of, like I said, I just stood there calmly and thought. And then when I got into the ring, I actually found that I could think straighter. My breath was more regulated because I hadn't been going like this, right, left in the queue for 5 minutes. So I was regulated. You know, I'd already done my warm-up. You're not going to cool down in like 5 minutes in the queue. So I was warm physically, he was warm physically, but then just taking that last few minutes before we actually entered the ring to just stand calmly. And it's not a meditation, but it kind of felt like it. Like I just stood there quietly in my own head and watched, didn't speak, didn't do anything. And then when I actually entered the ring, I felt a lot calmer, a lot more collected and a lot more ready. I was sure of what I was going to do, and I had plenty of time to just think about it before I actually had to enter the ring. So that's the first thing, pre-run routine. That is a way to alter your approach to agility that is totally fine and can be really beneficial. If it's not working for you, and like I said, experimenting is really important. If you think something isn't working right and you have a better idea, try it. It might be worse, it might be better, it might not change anything, but at least you've tried it and you know, like I said, you could do what I've done and found a way better approach. So number 2 is finding a new start line routine. So again, as you probably all know, I've been through so many start line routines with Arrow because, so basically his first ever start line routine was walking him in on the lead, taking his lead off, leaving him in a stand, saying wait and bleeding out, and then 3, 2, 1, okay. And then he started creeping out of nowhere for no reason that I'm aware of. My guess is maybe it was a bit of anxiety creeping back in. He didn't want to be away from me as I left. But then I thought, actually, no, probably not, because he was more anxious when he had a good weight. He was more nervous and didn't enjoy agility as much. And as he's got more confident and enjoyed agility more, that's when the weight seems to have been broken. Like, he doesn't break his weight outright, ever, touch wood again. He just creeps. And it's really annoying because I like setting him far enough back that, you know, he's got a good run up, he's not going to knock a pole, not going to hurt himself, etc. You know, obviously it increases his speed if he has more of a run up than if he just plops over the first jump. Then he has to get his speed up once the time has started. So it's really frustrating when I set him up really far back and then he creeps forward and I'm like, well, I may as well not bother. I know he's not going to break the weight, but I don't want him creeping all the way up to the first jump before he actually stands and waits. So that started happening, and I think that's because he wants to get into the run because now he loves it, which is great, but also you need that start line. I could never not have a start line weight with a fast dog like Arrow. Oh, I'm gonna yawn again. Probably sick of me hearing me yawn on this. Where was I? That's completely thrown me off. So yeah, that is what happened to his start line weight. So then I tried middle and down again, and he just didn't like that either. He got it a few times at KCI. Again, that was when I was doing middle down, middle down, middle down in the queue leading up to going onto that start line. But then by Dogs in Need, he would stand up immediately and start creeping as soon as I stepped over him when he was in that middle down position and walked away. So that stopped working for whatever reason. So my new start line routine again is now just to go back to what we did before when his weight was perfect. And just do, like, you know, do some hand touches, whatever, take his lead off and then just say wait while he's in a stand. And it's not 100% successful. He did wait, obviously he doesn't break his weight, he waited in all of the runs eventually, but it took a few attempts to go back and go, get back, and make him wait and not, because he likes taking like 5 steps forward. A few steps is fine, but when it's 5, it's, you know, when he's clearly just making his way towards me as I walk off, don't do that. So I go back and say wait again, but I'm just going to keep it simple like that. Again, it's simple. It doesn't require him to do a load of different behaviours like the middle down and stuff like that. So the new start line routine is literally how it used to be, and I'm just going to keep practicing and just keep reinforcing that he has to wait in a stand on the start line. I haven't been doing my 3-2-1 for a while because he's also quite hormonal at the moment. Again, I've probably talked about this to a lot of people, I've seen it shows, but he loves the girls, as boys do, I suppose, and if he smells a girl, that's it, his nose to the floor. He won't concentrate. It happened at Dogs in Need once where I took him into the ring. I think a girl dog had been on the start line previously, had ran the dog before him, and had to wait on that start line for a while because they faff with the timer or whatever. Anyway, once I got into the line, he clearly smelt this girl. He was licking the floor, his little jaw was going, his eyes were like, oh, wide, his hackles and tail were up, his tail was swooshing, he was like on his tiptoes, all the body language and signs that, you know, there's a girl smell there, he's getting a bit dominant, he's getting a bit hormonal. And then when I went to leave him in his weight, he just had his nose on the floor. I eventually got him to run, but it was a disaster and I just left halfway through. He was clearly not concentrating. You know, he was trying to fight his own, or I was trying to fight his natural instincts. It was never going to work. And I think I've learned, if he's like that again on the start line, to just not run that run, just to run him out, because I'm fighting a losing battle. And it's no good, you know, letting him practice starting a run in that headspace, if that makes sense. So, you know, I have considered chemical castration, but, you know, I've heard also that it can cause a lot of nerves. So if anyone's had any experiences with those, do let me know. But I don't think I'm going to do that. That is a very last resort. It's not bad enough. Again, touch wood, I've done that so many times today. It's not bad enough yet. It's not like it's every run. It's very rare. But if it was every run, I think I'd have to consider it. But at the moment, we're just going to leave it as it is and hope it doesn't happen too frequently. But I understand it's completely natural for him to react like that in those situations. But yeah, that's why I stopped doing the 3-2-1, because I just wanted to say okay as soon as possible on the start line once I was in position. Didn't want to give him that chance to, you know, smell something or anything. I just wanted to get him off that start line and running so that he was fully in the run, his head was in the run, just not giving him that opportunity to smell other things or notice other things. So I don't do the 3-2-1 anymore for that reason. But yeah, that is my new start line routine. Or should I say I'm back to the old start line routine minus the 3-2-1. So that's something I figured out at Dogs in Need, and that seemed to work pretty well. So next is altering your approach to handling. So for example, your tone of voice, frequency of commands and body language. So again, everyone runs in and handles in different ways. Everyone has their own handling style. Even if everyone, say, handles in a European style, like say 10 people use European handling, they're still all going to handle slightly differently. Everyone runs differently, everyone uses their arms differently, etc. So sometimes you need to think, you know what, if you're having a hard time or if your dog isn't responding very well, try changing your handling approach. So for example, tone of voice. Something I've changed over KCI and Dogs in Need is using a lower tone of voice. And yes, you're probably laughing if you heard me in Champ Agility. I think I hit an octave higher than the human ear can even hear. I didn't mean to, it just kind of slipped out. But usually I have decided to, you know, when I'm actually saying commands on purpose and not screeching right in desperation because he's about to go over the wrong jump in a Champ Agility round. But anyway, that'll come later. Hold on to the end if you want to hear more about that. I've decided to say his commands in a lower tone, more calm, clear, low and concise. I think he responds better to a firm and assertive tone like I'm using now instead of a go, more of a go, if that makes sense. So lower pitch tone. I think he responds better to that. Frequency of commands, I've decided to give less commands. So instead of going go, go, right, check, 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 like that, say things once. So go, tunnel, check, or check, check, and go. Do you get what I mean? Or just using commands only when they're needed, not being afraid. Again, it depends on the dog. I could never do this with Ethel. I had to keep talking to Ethel constantly. But for Arrow, being fine with not saying anything, saying go once and then letting him running down a straight and then tunnel once he gets to the tunnel and stuff like that, instead of being really repetitive, because I think it overloads his brain. Again, this is just Arrow, but it's more of I'm giving you an example of sort of how you can you can learn about your dog and change your approach based on your dog as an individual. So yeah, I've decided to have a lower tone of voice with him and say commands slightly less frequently and only really when they're necessary, just so his brain doesn't get overloaded, he's not overstimulated and he's concentrated. And then body language, hand signals, arm movements, stuff like that. I haven't really changed body language as such, but one thing I have learned, and my trainer Lucy has taught me over the years, is shoulders are really important. So as far as shoulders go, the dog usually follows the direction your shoulders are facing, whereas or feet. Some dogs follow your feet as well, but usually your shoulders and feet are facing a similar direction. For example, if you want your dog to turn left, you turning your feet and shoulders to the left or right, etc. But for whatever reason, it feels more natural. If I want to call Arrow left, for example, I would face in, like I would turn right almost into him as if I'm kind of calling him to me. This happened in one of my runs at KCI. No, Dogs in Need, sorry. Instead, the weaves were to the left and there was a jump. We actually did win this run, but the weaves were here, the jump was here, pretty much next to each other, and the dog was coming at them both and had to choose the weaves. So really, I should have gone go, and then after the jump leading up to these two obstacles, I should have turned my whole body left and gone weave. And he should have picked up that I was moving left and chosen the weaves, which are on the left, and also obviously listening to the weave command. But instead, my natural response is to turn into him and calling to me. So arrow, arrow, while I'm turning right, ironically. So he did come to me, but then because my shoulders and feet were facing right, he turned back and did a spin towards the jump. And then I had to scream at him and get him back into the weave. So it just wasted, say, a second. Still clear, but he just did a little spin and wasted a second. But, you know, really, I think it's a better idea to sort of, again, often it's a panicky thing, you know, when you want your dog to come in your direction, you face it and you call it, if that makes sense. But really, you know, as long as you're facing and pointing to where you want your dog to go, they tend to pick up on that more. And it's clearer for them. So that is just an example of body language, something you could try out for yourself with your body language. So number 4 is redefining success. Again, this is just something I drum on about all the time. I've talked about it before, but you know, just going into a run not thinking the only way this run can be successful is if it's clear, or the only way this run can be successful is if we win it or come in the top 3 or whatever. And it's fine to aspire, have those high aspirations, you know, I do, but at the same time it can also cause a lot of pressure on yourself. So, you know, especially if you're going through a time where maybe your dog is struggling with a certain thing on the course or something like that, redefine success in your own head before you go in. So for example, instead of thinking the only way this is going to be successful is if I go clear, think, okay, what would you really like your dog to do in this run that maybe they've been struggling with? So maybe for Arrow, it would be a good seesaw, a confident seesaw that he doesn't fly, but he also doesn't creep up. So a good solid seesaw. And then if he does that, that's a successful run when you come out, for example, or a really good contact hit, dog walk, running dog walk hit with split feet in the contact area. And that's your success, even if you got E'd or fault somewhere else on the course. So that's just a little example of altering your approach to agility in the sense of redefining what success is in competition, because obviously it's a competition, so the typical definition of success is to win. But, you know, really trying to go in and just trying to forget the fact that it's a competition and you're trying to win, and just allow yourself to sort of create your own rules for success, if that makes sense. So you define it before you even go in, and then when you come out, you'll probably be feeling way more positive about it. So the next one is finding a new attitude towards failure. So on the other end of that spectrum is redefining failure. Well, not redefining it, but yeah, just finding a new attitude towards it. So if something goes wrong, instead of thinking that you're crap because it went wrong, really try, and I struggle with this so much, I'm still bad at it, but I'm trying really hard to improve on this, and it is to, you know, see it as a learning process. So think what went wrong, why, and also something that's really uncomfortable and I hate doing is, say if something goes wrong on course and I know it's my fault, as in, that sounds really harsh, but you know, I said the wrong command, or I turned the wrong way, or I didn't say something soon enough, etc., or I was too far forward or too far back or whatever, and that's why Arrow went wrong. Instead of beating yourself up about it, come out and watch the video back. So I always say, always get your runs filmed. It's great for analysis and you can learn from those things. But come out, watch the run, watch yourself do it wrong over and over, and it's so uncomfortable and scary, and I hate doing it. You know, your instinct is to delete a really bad run. But watch that video, watch exactly what you did wrong and think, I should have been here and said this at that time instead. And then you know exactly what to do next time that crops up. And you have to do it a few times, you know, watch it a few times over for it to sink in, and it's really uncomfortable. But you know, just adopt, instead of trying to, oh, that was a failed run, that wasn't a clear, let's forget it happened. Just, you know, alter your mindset towards failure. So think, you know, really dive deeper into the failure, if that makes sense. And it's really uncomfortable, but the more you do it, the more comfortable it will get. So that's finding a new attitude towards failure. And I think, again, there's a lot behind this. There is a lot of other things you can do to alter, you know, your attitude towards failure. Some people are just more chill about not winning than others. You know, it depends. I'm very competitive, so it's been a struggle for me. But yeah, just don't be afraid to critique yourself, but for learning purposes. Like, there's a difference between beating yourself up and acknowledging what you did wrong so you don't do that again. So the next one is adopting a long-term mindset. So again, instead of going into every run and every show thinking, must win all of these now, or panicking that, oh, my dog's going to get older, you know, I only have this amount of time to achieve these goals. Just think, I'm in it for the long term. Don't even think of it as this dog. Think of it as your whole lifetime of agility. So, you know, for me, for example, I'm 22, think I'm probably going to be doing agility until I'm too old and crippled to do it anymore. I could be 70. So what's that, 20, 30, 40, 50? That's like 50 more years of agility. And I'll hopefully have loads of different dogs through that time, you know, and some are going to be better, I say with quotation marks, or more naturals in agility than others. But just think, you know, I'm in it for the long haul. This one little run, this one little show is not huge in the long term. You know, I've got my whole lifetime to achieve the goals I want to achieve within agility. That it doesn't have to happen now. And that will not only relieve the pressure on yourself, but it will also help you just enjoy it more, because it won't matter as much. And you'll probably find that you end up performing better because of that, because you relieve that pressure, if that makes sense. And I think that's a huge one, you know. You can breathe a sigh of relief. Like, when I think, oh, I've got my lifetime to achieve the things I want to within agility, I think, oh, thank God I don't have to do it within this year or the next year or whatever, or even with this dog right now. So I think that's really helpful personally. So the next one is learning to relieve the pressure to perform. Again, there's so many ways to do this. And it kind of links into the next one of, well, okay, I'm going to put these three in one category. So learning to relieve the pressure to perform, eliminating comparison, and removing the fear of judgment. So especially the last two, eliminating comparison. So it's very easy to compare yourself in agility. You're at a show, you know, your friends may be doing better on paper, results wise. Again, I put that in quotation marks, than you at that particular show or on that particular day or in that particular run. And you compare, you think, why are they better than me, and why can't I do that if they can? That means I'm terrible. You have to forget that. And I think it was in my conversation with Ant Clark, he said that you have to forget everyone around you when you're running. You have to not think about anything but yourself and your dog. And that's kind of, again, links back to my new pre-run routine, where I just stand silently in the queue and think in my head. And it just stopped, you know, I'm not looking around, I'm not about who's watching. Oh, I'm gonna yawn again, I'm so sorry. Cause the state of tired. But yeah, you just have to think it's me and my dog. And something that really helped me at Dogs in Need is actually thinking, going into a run and not thinking that you have to beat so-and-so that you just watch go clear or whatever. Go in and think, my only goal for this run is to have the best run that I can with this dog and come out feeling like that was the best you could do with your dog at the time. And then if 12 people are faster than you, then oh well. Don't let the fact that you're, say, 12th instead of first in that class make you feel any worse about that run if you know that that was your best run at the time that you could have done with that dog. So try not to compare yourself to other people, and obviously competition, it feels impossible to do that, especially when you look at the result sheet. You know, sometimes I think it can be helpful with, you know, online results nowadays. You do a run and you immediately look at the results to see where you're standing, especially if you've gone clear. Well, pretty much if you've gone clear. And then that then defines how you react to that run. But I think maybe give yourself 5-10 minutes, even more, to just be really happy with that run and, you know, have your own opinion and judgment and feelings towards the run that you just did with your dog before actually looking at the result sheet and then letting that change your approach. So spend plenty of time after a run you know, forming an honest opinion of the run and talking it through and thinking it through, and then look at the results, because the results are after. You know, don't just go straight to the results and then base your reaction off of those. You know, have the run and think about the actual run before you actually think about the results, if that makes sense. So that's a way to eliminate that comparison. And again, it takes practice and it is hard. And then removing the fear of judgment is really trying not to think, oh, who's watching? You know, this is especially important in, say, champ and qualifiers and stuff, where there are people, and finals, where there are people around the ring. You know, just don't look, you know, before you go into a run, don't look at the people standing around the ring. Be with you and your dog, and that's it, in your own head. And just don't think about it. And honestly, no one's going to come up to you after the run and say that sucked. Nobody. And if they think that, who cares? As long as they don't tell you, which they're not going to, because no one has the balls to do that. Who cares what they think about your run? You know, everyone's going to have their opinion. And, you know, if anyone's going to judge or tell you what they thought of your run, they're usually going to come up to you afterwards and say, oh, brilliant run, or good effort, or oh, your dog did this part really nicely. People will only really bother saying positive stuff to you after a run. No, I personally never had anyone come up to me after a run and say that was absolutely shocking. You know, I mean, some of your mates might joke about bits, but that's fine. It's funny. It's your mates, blah, blah, blah. But just don't be afraid of being judged, because it's really not a big deal. Half those people you probably don't know and never talk to anyway. And they'll forget about the run they just watched when they watch the next dog, etc. So it really isn't a big deal. And so yeah, let those things relieve the pressure to perform. So don't go straight to the results after a run, and don't look about to see who's watching you before you run. Just try to eliminate those things from the moment before you run and after you run. Just strip them completely and then see how you feel about the run when they're not there, because I guarantee you will feel more positive about it all without those. So that is, there's one more. So accepting and embracing intentional and unintentional change. So this is huge. Accept and embrace. Don't be afraid, I can't change my handling technique because that's my handling technique. Or what if it makes it worse? Or, you know, accept and embrace change. So don't be afraid to change. You know, don't be afraid to, you know, say, look, yeah, I think that I was doing it maybe a bit wrong before, and now I've learned something else, or, you know, I've experienced more and decided this is going to work better. Especially I think if you train people or you give advice, sometimes you can think, I can't change my approach, because then they'll think, so everything that you've done before is wrong. You know, I've always, you know, copied what you did or looked up to you or whatever. But we evolve. That you can't stay stuck forever. You know, you have to change and evolve as a person. And agility is exactly the same thing. You know, you don't want to be the same forever. So, you know, if something isn't quite working out, then don't be afraid to try something completely different with your dog. And it might work great, like I have with Arrow, you know, just intentional change, just embrace it. So it's okay to choose to change, or it's okay to try and have a different approach to agility on purpose because you think it's going to benefit you. And again, you can always swap back to how you were before, or, you know, you can always change. Nothing is set in stone. So accept and embrace intentional change, and then unintentional change as well. If change occurs naturally without you meaning for it to, embrace that as well if it's for the better. You know, if it's benefiting you and you're enjoying it and you're seeing results from it, go with it. You know, don't be scared of change. Embrace it for the better. So that is all of that topic out of the way and covered. I hope that really helped you, and that is, you know, those are all things that I kind of picked up on and learned over KCI and Dogs in Need. Obviously 2 weeks is a long time to do agility, so a lot happened in my brain over those few weeks. And now let's get into a recap of the past few weeks. So it was basically just amazing. 12 amazing days of agility. Obviously with lots of social things going on. You know, we had Domino's, we went to Toby Carvery, went to Weatherspoons at KCI, you know, we had lots of drinks. I literally drank gin every day. I'm not even afraid to say that. Obviously camping, I love camping. Except the seagulls at 4 AM at Dogs in Need was just unnecessary, and KCI and Dogs in Need, I could only trains throughout the entire night, especially at KCI. So I don't know what it is about every time I camp at agility there's a train track next to me. I don't know why that happened. But it was great. Went to an aqua park twice at KCI with my friends, which was so much fun. I love doing stuff like that. and it was really nice weather as well, which we were blessed with. I think it rained once and it was through the night. And I quite like being in a tent when it rains. I like the noise. So we were really lucky with that. No, it really was great. What else did we do? Just did all sorts. It just felt like a proper holiday, and I always like to think of these events as more of my summer holiday than a really serious competition. Like, if you go in again, back to earlier with the mindset of, this is my holiday for the year, because it is, I'm not having any more, then, you know, again, your viewpoint on your expectations are different. And, you know, maybe winning doesn't feel as important to you, because you think, well, it's just my holiday, I'm still going to enjoy it no matter what the results are. So anyway, yeah, it was just amazing. I'll quickly recap you on my runs anyway, if you haven't seen on social media, but even if you have, then seeing me talk about it might be a little bit more entertaining. So KCI, I like to call my show of one little thing in every run. Quite bad luck results wise, but still some amazing progress from Arrow. So Thursday we had the fastest time with a pole in British Open jumping, which is insane but annoying, but mainly insane. Like, I can't believe he was the fastest. And then an unwanted detour to the seesaw in British Open agility, so keeping us from that final. So I've been training seesaw that much that he just clocked onto a seesaw like 5 meters away, and he just went and put his front feet on it, and then I screamed at him to come back, but it was too late. I tried, but yeah, we've clearly been doing too much work on a seesaw lately, and he just spots them. He's a seesaw monster now. He spots them from a mile away, so that was a shame. Just that one thing again keeping us from the final for British Open. And then Friday we had the fastest time with a pole in 6-7 jumping. So again, another fastest time that would have been a win, but there was just that pole, and none of them are like he crashes into the pole. It's just like he just clips it slightly with his nail or something, and it comes down. And often, I don't know if anyone else has wondered, but I often think, you know, what if they just haven't been put on very sturdily? You know what I mean? What if the wings are a bit far apart and they're not on as sturdy, and it's just that, you know, and it's annoying. Poles, I hate poles. But anyway, we then got second in grade 7 jumping, which is great, but we were 0.2 seconds off the winner. So to me, I was like, oh my God, so close. That's so annoying. You know, could I have made that up anywhere? I don't know if I could. Obviously it was a spot on run from Arrow, but you know, when it's that close, I just think, so close to first. But no, that was a brilliant run. One of my favourite runs of the week, I think. And then we went clear in YKC pairs as well. For our pair, did me and Arrow. And then on Saturday, we had the 5th fastest time with a pole in champ agility. Now, I think this is Arrow's first ever agility. So this is champ. This is Arrow's first ever champ. His first ever champ course, and all he does is a pole. I couldn't believe it. He was perfect. So we would have come 5th in that, but obviously the pole, I think we ended up 42nd. That's the scope of champ for you. And then we had, I've lost where I am. Oh yeah, and then we had clear in champ jumping, but he wasted a bit of time. He tried to, I didn't check in with him enough, obviously, and he slipped behind me. So then I had to do a front cross and bring him back round and over the jump. Luckily, this was in the middle of 2 jumps, so he didn't cross any planes of the jump, so he didn't get faulted, but he wasted, I think, 4 or 5 seconds in total. So that put us 20 something, where really, without that, you know, that there's nothing in the time in champ. Really, again, he probably would have been top 5 if he hadn't have done all that faffing. So that left us in 21st overall. And as you all probably already know, it's the top 20 that get through to the final. So I was gutted, but still so happy with Arrow. You know, just a pole in his first ever champ is absolutely incredible. You know, he can get around champ courses. That is what I got from that experience. And I was like, yes, he's come so far. But yeah, that was super annoying because I would have loved to get into the final with him. I know it will happen one day, but it's so close, 21st. So, you know, everything kind of just seemed like one little thing, which is great because it's not a million things, but still, it's like, so near and yet so far. And then on Sunday, we came first in YKC Agility Dog of the Year jumping with a perfect run. But then Arrow had a nice little tunnel detour in the agility round. And to be honest, it was a silly angle on this course, and the judge actually changed it after medium. So he ran small and medium, realised the angle was silly and pretty unachievable by fast dogs, basically. and changed it for intermediate and large. So I was like, for God's sake, I wish he changed it before medium, because then I probably would have been fine. But basically it was jump and then a really, really weird tight turn onto the dog walk, which put them up at a funny angle onto the dog walk. So Arrow went over the jump and I was screeching left because it was such a quick, sharp turn onto the dog walk. But there was a tunnel next to the dog walk and he just went in it. And that was our one thing in that run. Otherwise, it was a flawless run with an amazing seesaw. And at the time, that was the best seesaw he'd done in months, probably. He didn't fly it, but he went straight to the end and stopped and then held that position. And I milked it at the end. Because we'd already got eaten. I left him on it for about 5 seconds going, wow, good boy, you're the best, super target. And then let him go. But yeah, just our one thing again. And obviously, if he hadn't done that, I hate saying, oh, if he hadn't done that, he would have won and qualified. Because, well, yeah, that's the same for pretty much everyone. But for me at this show, I was in the mindset at the time of it just feels like it is one little mistake in every run. And then obviously one place out of the final. Just one thing's happening to keeping us from that success. But he was still amazing. And then we also had a clear in agility after restarting the course. Right, let me explain. So it was jump, seesaw, and then the rest of the course. I did jump seesaw, and as Arrow got just past the pivot point, he simply flopped off the left side of it. So obviously I wasn't going to let him carry on. I was like, that is weird. We're not going to leave the ring after having that. So I just went back to the start jump, and I started again from 1, because it was like 1 and then centre 1 and then turn and then seesaw. So I wasn't really going that far. It's not like I was being rude and going back and making him wait on the start line all over again and wasting the judge's time. It was literally right there. So I just took him off the seesaw, turned around, sent him over the number 1 and carried on, and he went clear. So that was typical because, again, looking at the times, he would have won that as well. But he just didn't do it. He just flopped off the first time for whatever reason. I really don't know, because he did it perfect the second time. So it's just typical that had to happen, because the next run was incredible. And then we had a third in 6 or 7 agility combined. So I was really happy with that. Again, the times were really close and he beat some phenomenal dogs. And that was our last run. Also, exciting news, I had some interviews while I was at KCI. So 2 interviews, same company. I had 1 interview to start with, and the signal for O2 users was shite. There was nothing, absolutely nothing. There was 1 spot in the entire showground that had decent signal, and that is where I went and stood in the middle of this part of the field to upload my podcast advertisement and a post for Fuel 10K. But apart from that, it took like 5 hours for anything to happen, stories, stuff like that, because the O2 mast was down or something. And typically, of course, I'm on O2, so I couldn't do my... when I found out I had this interview at KCI, I thought, great, I can just do it from the tent. However, there was no signal to do so. So we drove to Costa, and I did it in Costa with the Wi-Fi, and it went really well. And then I had a second round with the same company on the Sunday, and we went to Costa again, and the Wi-Fi wasn't working. So 5 minutes before I was meant to sit down, I was panicking, and a lovely Costa worker came up and let me use his hotspot for that, and that went even better. That went really well, and I found out on the first day of Dogs in Need that I actually got the job. So I'm so excited about that. I won't tell you exactly what it is now yet until it's all finalised, but yeah, I will be announcing that shortly. I'm so excited for this job. It is like my dream job in the future, pretty much, but part-time at the moment. But yeah, I'll be announcing that very shortly. So that also happened at KCI, which was kind of surreal, but I got a few Costas out of it, so, you know, I had an excuse to go buy myself a Costa. So that was KCI, and now on to Dogs in Need. I'm aware I've been talking for a while now, so I will crack on. But Dogs in Need, phenomenal, favourite show of the year, absolutely love it. It feels like Haven or Butlins or something. I've never been to either of those, but it feels like the showground is like a holiday venue, and it's just set up for a holiday. And I just love it so much. I know the showground like the back of my hand after, I think, 4 years of going, and, you know, camping with my best mates, and it is just amazing. You know, I don't see these people that often, and we're all together at this show, and I love it. But anyway, so what happened at Dogs in Need? Amazing results. So Arrow qualified for Crufts, another event at Crufts, because he's already qualified for the Jumping Cup. but he qualified for Agility Dog of the Year as well by winning both rounds of it and the overall, which is amazing. This was our last chance to qualify for Agility Dog of the Year at Crufts next year. This is the last Agility Dog of the Year qualifier of the year. So we went clear in the agility, and you do not understand the stress I felt when I went into the jumping section, because I thought we have to go clear in this to qualify, because it's only first that qualifies. There's going to be, you know, even 5 for a pole, for example, and we wouldn't have qualified because there was, I think, 3 of us that had double clears, and obviously Arrow was a speedy boy and won it. But yeah, that was a scary run, but we did it, thank God, on our last attempt. I also stopped us qualifying in May at Wallingford because I changed my handling technique after watching some of the dogs run before me, and I went for a blind instead of a rear, and he ran past a jump in the agility round and had a clear in jumping, and time wise again he would have qualified in that if I'd just held onto him and done the rear cross instead of rushing for the blind. So I was so annoyed about that, and I was like, oh my God, imagine if we don't end up qualifying for it and I've done that. But anyway, we did qualify Dogs in Need, so that is amazing. And then he also qualified for the Dogs in Need Classic Tournament final, which is awesome. He won the 1-2 final last year, so it was really cool to be now in the 6-7 one, and he was the runner-up in grade 7, beaten by Joe Gleed with Edge. Absolutely phenomenal partnership, amazing run. I was so proud of him in this final. You know, great atmosphere, the commentary, the crowd, everything. Loved it. But there was a sharp turn off the sharp turn off the seesaw. So obviously I couldn't go very far, and he literally just went past the pivot point and stopped. So I was like, come on. So I think he wasted 3 seconds on the seesaw. But yeah, super steady seesaw, but he got round clear and was the runner-up. So I'm so proud of him for that. And then oh my God, he won medium champ jumping. What? I couldn't believe it. Like, what on earth? I'm so proud of him. He won medium champ jumping. Oh, I can't wait for the future with him. He's so exciting. With a perfect run. Anyway, he then took an off-course long jump in the champ agility, which is the really comical run that I posted on social media. See if you can find it. Third obstacle to last, it was dog walk, sharp turn around the back of a jump, and then over a long jump, which was positioned after the dog walk. And I haven't taught him dog walk turns yet. So Porsche, I was saying along the dog walk, and then right, and my voice cracked and I screamed at the top of my lungs. But I think as soon as he got over that top plank of the dog walk, he saw that long jump and he was going. His dog walk hit was perfect, phenomenal, like deep hit with both his back feet split across the contact. So it was a phenomenal dog walk, but he just went straight over that long jump and instead of coming right and around the back. But you know, I haven't taught dog walk turns, so I couldn't really have expected him to do that. I wasn't really too fussed because I expected it, but it was so funny, and it was such a shame as well because obviously he'd won the jumping and he was so close to that clear in the agility. But anyway, I was still so proud of him. So obviously that stopped us getting through to the final, but you know what? I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to come. I know he's going to get through to his finals when the time comes. But yeah, I'm just so excited for more champs with him. He has so much potential. Sorry, my watch has been literally pinging this whole time. Just too popular. And then he also won grade 7 agility and got 3 grade 7 jumping wins as well at Dogs in Need, one of which I had not walked because I've been so concentrated on my YKC Agility Dog of the Year agility round. As soon as we ran that and I was full of relief, we were like, oh, okay, I missed walking for this jumping. So we went over, I watched about 5 dogs. Anyway, went in, went clear, and won. So yeah, don't walk your courses, guys. No, I'm joking. And then as well, just a few little bits to acknowledge. We came 5th in an agility with 5, but the fastest time. He just didn't commit to a backside. I called him off a tunnel, and again, I think it was my shoulders. I turned into him too much, then did a back. I think I just rushed off a little bit. It was quite chaotic, but I called him off a tunnel, cued a backside, went to run in the next place, and he just didn't commit to the backside. I should have held a little bit more, but we live and we learn. And we will train more backside so that I can be running off and he still commits. But yeah, we got 5 in that for that bit, but we still came 5th, so that was cute. And then a 6th in jumping with 5, which was entirely my fault. Again, fastest time, but I put a blind in too early and he ran past a jump, and then I watched a video back thinking, should have held on for 1 or 2 more seconds before I put that blind in. Often I think I'm slower than I am and he's faster than he is in comparison, if that makes sense. Like I think, oh, I will never make it there because he's so fast and I can never be as fast, if that makes sense. But then I actually run and I'm like, oh, I got there easily. Like, he's obviously still fast, but I'm also quite fast and I know how to handle him so that I'm in the right place. So that's about trusting, you know, I need to trust myself more to be in the positions, you know, to get in the positions, not feel like I have to rush things, you know, just be patient, hold my ground with him, make sure he's committed to each obstacle before I move off to the next. And that is the episode. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I hope you're proud of me for still getting episodes out to you guys over the past few weeks, my pre-recorded episodes. I'm excited to get back to recording episodes as they come instead of having to pre-record about 1 million in one go. It was 2, but it felt like a lot of the time. I think I did 3 in one day. Anyway, you know the drill, as normal. What is the drill? It's been a while. It's been like nearly 3 weeks since I've recorded an episode. That's it. So follow me on all the socials. I'm active on them all pretty much most days. Here they are. I'll put them on the screen on the YouTube video, and they'll be down below in the description on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you could leave a rating or review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, that would be amazing. Remember to subscribe on YouTube as well so you don't miss any more episodes. I've got such an exciting guest coming up, hopefully next week or the week after, that you are not going to want to miss. So make sure you're following the podcast on all of the things. And yeah, 5-star review or rating would be phenomenal. If you could spare a minute, probably not even that, 30 seconds max. And with that, I will see you guys next Wednesday at 8 p.m. as usual. Bye guys.